And when I'm up here by myself, especially, I do. I feel like he's here. And I don't know how to explain that in any way, but it's like, I'll be working and I'll just feel like, okay, he's got this. Like I know I'm not doing this alone. My mom and I are obviously doing it hand in hand, but there's definitely someone watching out for us. So my dad took over the donut shop originally from his dad, but my grandpa is the original. He started with the TatoNut shop in 1960, which was a franchise that he kept up for probably about a decade. TatoNut eventually transitioned into TatoNut a few years later. My dad actually came up with the name TatoNut, and my grandpa took that and ran with it. And we use potato flour in our donuts, and that came from the TatoNut, spud, Tato, and that's both kind of combined together to get TatoNut. It's pretty close to a regular donut. It is your basic yeast donut, but we do add potato flour to our regular donut recipe, so it does make for a lighter, fluffier donut. We do make cake donuts as well, so we do have a really big variety of donuts. But our TatoNut, which is what we're known for, it is regular flour mixed with potato flour. My dad has 7 brothers, so him and all of his brothers were kind of all involved with the donut shop and his dad, and they put him to work. That was easy employees for him kind of thing. But my dad was really the only one that showed interest in it as much as compared to the other brothers. He also had his own little showcase that he had cookies and like cupcakes and stuff in there too. So he was doing his own little thing on the side, which is kind of like where I see myself doing now, which is crazy that he was doing the same thing. So he was the main one out of the boys that actually showed interest in taking over. He took it over in 1983 when he was 23 years old. And I actually kind of took over with my mom at the same age, 23 years old. So it's kind of crazy how that played out. My best friend and my neighbor, their family's diehard Ole Miss people, and I went to visit in the fall of my senior year, and I was sold. There was no question. I didn't apply to any other school. I was like, I will be at Ole Miss, and I did teeter with the idea of pharmacy school because I really liked chemistry and stuff, but I just ended up not loving it as much as I love marketing, and I'm glad that I went with what I did because here I am now. 2020 was my senior year. I left for spring break. Right before spring break, my best friend and I is also a marketing major. We both accepted jobs to move to Disney and work there for an internship. And that was the plan, to just kind of move, get a change of scenery, like do something different because this is the most experience I've ever had. I was like, I need to work for somebody else. I need to learn something different. So that was the plan. We were supposed to move in August, but then COVID happened and they immediately put everybody on hold. There was no new hires happening indefinitely. So I came back here and was helping them. We went to curbside for 2 months during COVID, and it was me, my mom, my dad, and then like 3 other employees just trying to operate to just sell whatever we could. We knew things were going to be serious for us. My dad was diagnosed in 2019 with lung disease. So COVID was a serious thing, which is why we straight went to curbside immediately. We wanted the least amount of people interacting with him as possible. We all wore masks just strictly for him. We did take a 2-week break in August just to kind of take a breather because we were like, wow, this is a lot. How are we still functioning? And we just went to the beach and just hung out as a family, just like not trying to be as low key as possible. Came back. Things were going mostly normal. We were open in the store again, but we were only letting like 6 or so people in the building at a time. Went through Christmas and we're ready to gear up for Mardi Gras in January of 2021. And my dad started running a fever. And so my mom was like, okay, he needs to go to the hospital. So she took him to the ER. No one really was thinking that much of it. Like we were just like, okay, gotta kick this in the bud. Like whatever. I came to work and tried to get things ready, like decorations and stuff for Mardi Gras, not worried about it. He passed away within 48 hours of checking into the hospital. So all of us were completely taken off guard. No one had no plans or anything ready for the donut shop. We ended up being closed all the way through June of 2021. In that time, we did do a full remodel of the store, which is nice that we had that opportunity to be able to do that. We hadn't done any kind of remodeling in 20 years, so it was time. But at that point, I was like, oh my God, okay, like the pressure's on. Like I'm an only child now. There's not another person that I just can't see it being somebody outside of our Mohler family. That doesn't feel right. So that was June is when we first reopened, and I got called back in August, but I was so sold in on just what we had operating here, and I just can't see myself being somewhere else. It just doesn't feel right. The community gave us grace. They understood that it was not gonna be an easy thing to do. The first probably month that we were open, I had to go out every day and tell people that were down the sidewalk, I was like, there's a few dozen left. You might not make it to any by the time you get in here, so you can wait if you want. And that went on for almost the whole summer of 2021, which, I mean, we can't be more grateful for the support that we received, but that's what keeps me going, is the community support, and like, people are still wanting the donuts, so. When we reopened in 2021, I added a donut of the month to the menu, and I've added a lot of more interactive things. We do like kits for kids to decorate. We do donut hole cakes for birthdays, holidays, everything like that, rather than before we were just doing strictly the basics donut kind of thing. So I want to try to keep the balance of a basic donut shop and more of a boutique donut shop in the same store. So hopefully that growth and like impact of just trying to keep the crowds of both coming back for generations to come, and hopefully they'll keep growing from what I've come up with. The fact that my grandpa started it and now I'm technically 3 generations in, there are families that are 3 generations into TatoNut. I personally have a really good friend of mine that her parents and grandparents grew up coming here. So, and now she's married now and is probably having a kid soon. So she's gonna bring her kid, like it's just like a staple part of their life, TatoNut is, and that's a Saturday thing. I mean, we have plenty of our regular business that comes like before work and stuff on weekdays, but Saturdays are like, you have to get your TatoNut on Saturday fix. So that's just become people's routine. To have that part of it missing, I know that would be hard for people. So I understand that TatoNut has grown up with them, and I want it to keep growing with their family generations to come too. I just feel like having a place that feels like home and comforting, and that we have a group of old men that come for my whole life almost. They've been here, they'll be here tomorrow morning, every single morning, and they're just waiting for us to unlock the door, and they have coffee and they just chit chat every morning, and it's just like part of their daily routine, and that's a place that feels like a second, which this is my second home pretty much, but for other people to feel that way too, that's just like a special thing. There's not a lot of places that I could say that could hold that kind of an impact on people's life.